which is most every day. It's just that there was a stretch there where he took a little time away, a little sabbatical, to end the show with his 5 at 5:55.
This is Paul Catalina's Top 5 at 5:55.
Brought to you by Slapsticks Comedy Club, bringing the funny back to Waco. Go to slapstickscomedy.com to buy tickets for our May 29th show that's going to be at Rogue Media Network, which is on Austin Avenue. And 45 tickets just for that improv show. I believe it's going to be at 8 or 8:30. Anyway, we had a great time on May 1st doing our first show as the Slapsticks improv comedy troupe. It's really fun. We have a good time. None of it's scripted. It's all a blast. So I hope you guys can come out and see that. Slapstickscomedy.com. All right, following up on yesterday's top 5 most bummer last stops for NFL and Major League Baseball players. I didn't do this in the NBA because it would just be the whole list would have been that. And so I decided just to do that whole list because this is maybe even more of a bummer than any other sport because of the way it is in basketball. You can kind of to play it out a little longer. So number 5, and this guy is not as big a star as anybody else on the list, but this is kind of where I'm at. He was a big star for a short amount of time. But Steve Francis in China averaged half a point a game.
Did he really?
Yeah, for about 10 days before he said, I don't want to live in China.
So occasionally he hit a free throw.
Yeah, half a point a game.
Yeah. I don't know what Steve Francis is, like, what's his status right now? Do you have any idea?
He's been in the league for 11 years.
Hell of a player at Maryland, right?
The reason why I ask is because it was like not but 4 or 5 years ago where there was just some really just awful looking pictures of him. Like as far as he just looked awful. Like he had aged. He looked like he was just in bad shape. And that's what I think of now when I think of Steve Francis, sadly enough. So I just wasn't sure if he was still on that. It was like he was having some alcohol problems, I think, was what was going on. But
here it is right there. Look at that. Yeah.
Yeah, he was looking real tired. But yeah, sorry to get off on that tangent. That's what I think of when I think of Steve Francis.
Yeah, I see it there. All right. Number 4, Shaquille O'Neal with the Boston Celtics. He wore number 36. They didn't fit him. No. 36 isn't a good basketball number.
I don't even remember that.
I mean, he was injured. It was only one season. He was injured most of the year. His feet were starting to kind of give out on him. He kept having foot problems. It was rough for someone who was at the most dominant part of his career. Really, really fun to watch. Just bowl over people. Number 3, and this one, look, ended in the playoffs, but still.
Don't remember this one.
Hakeem Olajuwon with the Raptors.
Maybe I've got a filter up. Kind of like robo-collar when it comes to guys playing like this.
Yeah, I remember that. It didn't last very long. But yeah, I definitely remember Hakeem going to Toronto.
One of my all-time favorite players ever. Yeah. Top 5. He and Dr. J's one of them, too.
All right, number 2, Patrick Ewing with the Orlando Magic. Did anyone know that this actually happened?
I could barely find a picture of him on the Orlando.
Oh, really?
Yeah. He wound up on the coaching. He was essentially a coach on the bench, and then he played a little bit, but it was
took Georgetown to the NCAA tournament this year, didn't he?
Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah. And number 1, Michael Jordan with the Wizards. I mean, this was...
Yeah, I mean, in hindsight, I wish he never would have done that. I was amped for Michael to come back, but, and there was I guess there was some appeal that he was going to be playing for a different team, but that quickly wore off. It really quickly wore off. And when you're seeing him, going up against the Iversons and the Bryants and the guys who were just clearly so much younger and so much healthier and, so much more in their primes. Those were just so forgettable. That was such a forgettable time for MJ fans.
I will say this. Personally, for me, this worked out in that Michael Jordan did not care for Leonard Hamilton and sent Leonard Hamilton right to Florida State, where he's been ever since. And he's done a really good job there, in spite of the fact that early on I didn't think he was. But he also can, and I've heard that he does, will tell people, listen, I coached Michael Jordan. Kids aren't smart enough to look up the fact that Michael Jordan fired his ass, but he can say he coached Michael Jordan, and that's a thing.
By the way, I just sent an email. I'm not sure if you're going to get it. I know we're up against the top of the hour. An email, a picture of Steve Francis. Well, you may not be able to post it because there's a word on there that we don't need to put up there. But he talked about how he went from selling drugs on the street corner in D.C. to the NBA in 4 years. Now it's over. It's a wrap at 32. I knew it was the end. That's some really, really hard blank to swallow. And he looks like he's
I'm
been
telling
through
you,
it.
I saw
Yeah.
a picture of him like 2 years ago, and he was at a Houston club, and I want to say like there was some altercation or something there. Like he got in trouble or something happened. And I remember just seeing the picture afterwards and going, golly, man, I hope he gets some help soon because he just looks so rough. But
Daniel Acton on the text line, brought to you by Riverbend Liquor and Wine. No Dennis Rodman to the Mavericks on that list.
Oh, that's an interesting one. I mean, living in I think Steve Francis to China probably bumped him off of it. But Dennis Rodman living in Mark Cuban's guest house while he played for the Mavs.
Here's from Chase on Twitter, a direct message. Smoak, I'm not sure if you heard about this. Marshall and Hallsville, round 3 of the baseball playoffs. They're limiting Marshall fans to 169 tickets to